Well, what a topic it is. Not just simplicity, but radical simplicity. In other words, a little call to take it seriously, but also with enough lightness of heart that in thinking about what on earth radical simplicity could be, we don't already complicate it. Because we do indeed have such an appetite for complicating things. And yet, of course, we know that the teachings, the actions, the gestures, the inspirations that will come most directly to our hearts and have the very best chance of waking us up just that little bit more will always be something that is absolutely vivid in its simplicity. Several of the teachings that I've been thinking about over the last few weeks as I've been thinking about this topic and thinking what an amateur I am when it comes to thinking about radical simplicity. Several of those teachings, of course, come from very ancient texts. So let's assume that this preference of the human mind to complicate things is a very, very old one, that hundreds of millions of people have faced this challenge, this exact challenge that I'm bringing to your attention today, to see what really matters and to live according to that. So these two lines from the Tao, first of all, the Tao is close. Meaning, of course, the way, the understanding, the path, the unfolding is very close. But you look far away. Life is simple, says this philosopher, yet you look for problems. And then, just a little bit later, overfill your bowl and it will spill. And oh my goodness, isn't that a lesson for our time? Overfill your bowl and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife and it will blunt. Chase after fame or money and your body will tense. Worry too much about what other people are thinking and you will be their prisoner. Do what is right, says the Tao, and then step back. This is the path to peacefulness. In other words, do what is right, but don't stay around, don't hang around waiting for praise, waiting for somebody else to tell you that was all right, waiting for somebody else to say you are all right. Do what is right, and then, at least to some extent, detach. Observe your actions and the effect of your actions, and then, at least to some extent, detach. So I've been thinking a lot about that. And I've been thinking a lot about how radical simplicity teaches us that we have innumerable chances on a daily basis to learn from nothing more exceptional than our conduct. But that it is our conduct that we need to learn from. Our minds can be filled with ideas, filled with inspiration, filled with ideology, filled with all kinds of rhetoric. But in the end, it is our conduct that demonstrates most truthfully what is in our hearts. We can dance a dance of the multiple seven veils, but in the end, it is our conduct that speaks, as the old saying goes, far louder, far more clearly, with far greater purity than any of our words. We can discover the effect of our conduct by reading what is perhaps the most divine scripture of all, which is other people's faces. We can read in an instant on other people's faces how our conduct is affecting them. Whether we should do a little more of this or quite a bit less of that. That is the call to be awake, to be awake to the effect of your actions on other people, the effect of your choices on other people. There are so many other ways too that we complicate our lives unnecessarily. We often, for example, and there were so many examples that I had to be very simple choosing some. We can overestimate our own suffering and radically underestimate the suffering of other people. We can overestimate our problems and underestimate our capacity to meet them. We can overestimate our suffering and add pain to our suffering by telling ourselves that we cannot cope with this, or that we will not cope with this, or that life is terribly unfair. And in doing that, of course, we are planting thoughts in our own minds that take us closer to living gloriously or move us further away. There's a beautiful, exceptionally simple, deceptively simple little teaching in the Torah, which says, you do not see life as it is, you see life as you are. And we know that. We know that our moods, our emotions can be so utterly convincing that they can take us in an entirely wrong direction. So yet again, we need to think very much about the direction in which our conduct takes us. And I think that's one of the absolutely key reasons why the life of Jesus, as much as we know about it through the stories and the parables that he told, but particularly through the stories of conduct, I think that is why the life of Jesus, not what's written about him, not what he's claimed to have said, but his conduct stands for me as such a guide, such a lamp, such a lantern. Because in that conduct, what do we see? We see somebody completely unafraid to bring people in from the margins. We see somebody who's completely unafraid to radically dispute the notion that some people's lives matter and other people's lives don't. To radically dispute the notion that some people's lives have greater purity than others and therefore greater value. We see somebody who through his conduct is constantly bringing people in, reminding them of their capacity to love, reminding them also of what really matters, what the currencies are that really matter. And we also see someone who through his conduct was capable constantly of forgiving himself, others, all of us, for the very ways in which we fall down and sometimes find it very hard to bring ourselves up again. Reiterating those very same teachings, and in all of the faith traditions and all of the philosophical traditions, of course, is that absolute paragon of simplicity that we call the Golden Rule. I would like you to behave towards me in much the same way that you would like me to behave towards you. What could be simpler? Every family within our human history has been given this same message. One of the loveliest ways in which it's been delivered comes in this Islamic hadith, which says, do you love your Creator? You should love your neighbor first. And how sensitive is that? Because it's sometimes so difficult to love our neighbor who can be incredibly annoying to us. And we can be quite piously reassuring ourselves that we do indeed love our Creator. So the challenge to us, again, is to find a place in our hearts, if not to love, then at least to attempt to understand. If not to understand, at least to attempt to tolerate. And also to bring into our conduct a celebration not just of tolerance, not just of forgiveness, but a celebration of delight, a celebration of awe, a celebration of wonder, a celebration of curiosity, and of course, a celebration of unity. Really seeing constantly that this simple, so-called simple, so profound teaching that we know as the Golden Rule is actually reminding us through this attention to conduct that we live in a constant state of interbeing, that you affect me as much as I affect you, that none of us is isolated from this constant tide, outward and inward, constant tide of effect, that the world we collectively create, that the communities that we collectively create, that the relationships that we collectively create are themselves collections of our actions. And we are responsible for the part that we play. And it is our honor, it's our joy, it's our responsibility to know that, to see it, because that, of course, is where our freedom lies. Another really marvelous ancient teaching. And just think, as you listen to the psychological depth of this, just think to yourself, this was given 2,500 years ago. It's a teaching from the Buddha. And it's so well known. It's so well known because it speaks so directly to the human heart of today. What we are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday. In other words, comes from our thoughts about who we are and what life is and what life should bring us and what we should bring to life. Our present thoughts build our life of tomorrow. Our life is the creation of our minds. In other words, what we pay attention to, whatever it is that we pay attention to, will grow more and more prominent in our lives. And not only that, what we pay attention to, we will also manifest. We will also live out. If we pay attention only to our anxieties, only to our suffering, only to our bitterness, only to our envies, then that is what we will live. If we also pay attention to our gifts of consolation, to our gifts of joy, to our gifts of blessedness, then that is what we will live out. And that is also not only what will guide our conduct, it is also the impression that we will leave in each situation that we find ourselves in. In the end, of course, it isn't the words. In the end, it is the quality of presence that we bring through our conduct. Not just through our conduct either, but through the attitudes, through the thoughts that inform and shape and colour and give texture to our conduct. This is what we are constantly reminded of in all the inspirational teachings that I attempt to bring to you, that I pray about and that I hope will inspire you month after month as we gather here at Pitt Street. This is what the force, the gentle force of inspiration is really all about. Reminding you that your quality of presence can be, if you allow it to be, literally a manifestation of love. And when it isn't, when it is really disappointing, when you have disappointed yourself, when you have disappointed another person, then we also know through the conduct of our greatest teachers that what we can bring to ourselves, to that other, to the space between that connects us to ourselves and to others, we can also bring that divine, simple, powerful, healing quality of forgiveness. So 3 questions that I thought might be very helpful to all of you in thinking about quality of presence, the presence that you have for your own self also, as well as the presence to others. How can I help? How can I help? Is this kind? This is a very sobering question. Is this kind? When we're making a decision about, should I say this, should I not say that? Will I do this, will I not do that? Ask yourself, is this kind? And we know that the Dalai Lama said, be kind whenever possible, it is always possible. And the third question, where is this taking me? Where is this taking me? I think again, this is a very sobering but very enlightening question. Where is this leading? Where is this leading? Where am I leading myself as well as being led by these thoughts? So just to remind you again, the Tao is close. The Tao is right here. The Tao, the way, the understanding, the awakening, the enlightenment, the illumination, it's right here, right now. But we look away. Life is simple. Is this kind? Can I help? Where is this taking me? But we look for problems. Overfill your bowl, the bowl of your life, and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife. In other words, over-preparing, finding new qualifications to tell you that your life matters, and it will blunt. Chase after fame or money and your body will tense and probably be exhausted. Worry too much about what other people are thinking and you will be their prisoner, and worry too little about what other people are thinking and you will be your own prisoner, I would add. Do what is right, and then step back. This is the path to peacefulness. Blessed be.